Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Inside Japan. I'm Adam Kassab from GLOBIS. We're here in a brand new classroom. GLOBIS office in Kojimachi. The fourth floor has been turned into, I think, around 8 new classrooms, and people from the fourth floor have moved up to the 7th floor. So we're actually expanding very fast. Anyway, welcome to Inside Japan. Today I'm very, very delighted to have Keiko Shimada with us, who is the principal of Mercer Global M&A Consulting. And we actually used to work together for a few years when I was at Mercer, but in kind of different teams or different groups. So, Keiko, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Great to see you again.
Great to see you again.
Looking very healthy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Keiko, can you just tell our viewers a bit about your background and your job? You know, what do you actually do at Mercer? Yeah.
Yeah, I joined Mercer in December 1998, and I worked as a consultant, human capital consultant, for a couple of years. And then in 2002, I joined an initiative to start up an M&A business. And since then, I've been working for a consultant dealing with pre and post M&A situations.
So you were kind of one of the founding team members of the M&A consulting practice.
Right.
Amazing, fantastic. And can you, I mean, it sounds, you know, for people who don't know exactly what is, you know, M&A, post and pre-integration and so on, can you just give a bit more detail? What do you exactly do?
Sure.
Yeah.
For the pre-M&A situations, we help client do the due diligence. And our area is actually management, HR, and organization due diligence. Typical topics will be HR-related costs, which include the pension liabilities and high executive rewards, and also governance matters, retentions, such etc. Yeah, that's a pre-deal situation.
I see.
Post-deal situation will be focusing on how to manage or govern the acquired companies. Typical example will be how to develop board resolutions or KPIs for the new executives, how to retain the executives and set up rewards, such kind of things.
Fantastic.
Right.
And can I ask again, do you ever, say the at the pre-M&A stage, right? Do companies ever decide not to go forward based on what you kind of find out?
Yes, sometimes companies do that, right.
So it has to be something quite major.
Quite major, such as there's a strong labor union that will affect the M&A. That's one example, right.
And I know, as I said, you know, we used to work on the same floor, and I always thought your group, the M&A group, was kind of like watching Mission Impossible film, right? It was, you know, they had these real tight deadlines, right? Can you, I mean, why is it such a sort of a kind of demanding job to do? Yeah.
How
these tight deadlines? Yeah.
Right.
Why do you have these tight deadlines to work towards all the time? Yeah.
If my client is actually major Japanese companies who acquire U.S. or European companies, sometimes other companies in ASEAN or Latin America.
Yeah.
And in most cases, the due diligence period is very short, sometimes 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? So in such a short time frame, they have to analyze everything they need, right? So that makes the timeline very demanding. Yeah.
Interesting. And you work also with non-Japanese deals sometimes, right? How does that work?
Okay. So there are both cases that my clients are non-Japanese clients, right? That is one case. And the other case is actually I work with my colleague who are non-Japanese.
Oh, I see. Overseas colleagues, right?
Yes,
the
exactly.
Mercer kind of network, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I work with Mercer US colleagues in Mercer outside network, we do have M&A protocols, and we share those protocols. So it's quite easier for us to develop a team in 24 hours and have a set up conference call and then come up with issues and solutions of typical M&A cases.
Within 24 hours, you can set up an effective functioning team,
Yes.
like an international team.
Yes, exactly.
Incredible. And because you have all these strong protocols, you can all sort of work together quickly.
Right. Standard proposals and those kind of things. Yes.
So what sort of challenges do you have then working in those types of international teams? Maybe people you've never met as well, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So since I'm working with Japanese clients, we have to understand the needs of our clients and then articulate to our colleagues, right? Sometimes the issues and topics are too unique to Japanese corporations. It's sometimes difficult to, make them really understand.
Interesting. Yes. Wow. So it's kind of a cultural
business culture.
Yes. Can you give an example? If it,
Yes.
Obviously without giving away a company name or anything, but just an example.
I mentioned that management and governance are two major topics for Japanese companies when they acquire U.S. companies or European companies, right? And they really would like to govern effectively the acquired company, right? But they don't have global leadership talent who can manage the company. So what they do is normally they retain the target executives, right? So the target executives would like to keep their role and responsibilities or even broaden the roles and responsibilities. On the other hand, the Japanese company would like to govern effectively. So there's conflicts between the two. And resolving that effectively is sometimes quite difficult.
Right.
And for the U.S. consultants to understand those conflicts might be a bit difficult.
I see. Yeah. So can you, you've been kind of working in M&A for over 10 years, right?
Over 10 years, right.
Talking about those cultural issues, have you noticed that certain countries or regions are more difficult for Japanese to work with, or are there more kind of conflicts or with different regions?
Okay.
Have you noticed that? Yeah.
Right. So I worked with ASEAN, Asia, China and India, and also U.S. European companies. I think major difference between U.S. and Japanese companies, right? In general, the decision-making structures are quite different. The major U.S. companies, they have more top-down approach with strong leadership. They have faster decision-making, right? On the other hand, Japanese traditional listed companies, they have more bottom-up structure with strong middle management.
I see.
They have thorough preparation before the leadership to make decisions. So the decision-making tend to be slower, right? Yeah. So in M&A cases, they have to make decisions in quite a short time frame.
Right.
That will make the process a bit difficult.
I see.
Right.
How about ASEAN? Can you compare?
Asian companies, Asian countries. I noticed that Korea have a bit similar, business culture, but
to
China,
Japan.
To Japan.
I see.
But China and India are quite different from Japan.
Really?
Yeah. But that's quite in general. But
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Have you noticed any trends then in 10 years of working in kind of M&A consulting group?
Right.
Have you noticed any trends?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, for the first couple of years, I focused on domestic M&As, not the cross-border deals, because the cross-border deals were not that typical in Japan, right, at that time. But from 2004, the number of M&As, cross-border M&As, has increased. And last year, actually, there were 515 Japan outbound cross-border deals.
So many.
Yeah, there are so many. It's the highest number in 23 years. So it's been increasing quite a lot, right?
And could you have any idea, like reasons for that? Or I know the yen was very strong before.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is actually more structural issues that the market, domestic market, has been quite saturated. So they have to go overseas to find broaden the market.
I see.
Right. So you have business needs to do that. Right.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you. And can I ask, Keiko, your English is very good. And did you live abroad, or like did you grow up in America or something?
No, actually, I was purely brought up in Japan. Although I learned English from a native English speaker when I was very small.
I see.
Right.
Amazing. I'm really impressed with it, and all these like technical terms that you're using as well. And you also, I mean, before we were talking, you said you did an MBA in Chicago.
Yes.
Ago,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And you were working full time and doing an MBA.
Right.
How did you do that?
It was quite tough, actually. I had to manage my projects quite well. But I noticed that I noticed after finishing the program, I was actually enjoying doing both, because you use a different part of your brain when you study and when you do projects, right? So it's actually refreshing for me to do that. And after graduating, I focused too much on work, and it was too stressful. So I really noticed that after graduation.
So getting stuck into some heavy theory about strategy and marketing was actually like a holiday for you.
Yes, yes. That's quite strange, but actually it worked like that.
Keiko, can I ask, I mean, a lot of, we're a business school here at GLOBIS. A lot of people kind of think, should I do a part-time MBA or should I do a full-time MBA? You decided to do a part-time executive MBA, right?
Yes.
What was your reasoning there? Why didn't you just quit and do a kind of... Yeah.
So if you deal with business, you have to do business while studying.
Right.
So I really wanted to bring what I learned to the business, to the projects, and then bring what I experienced in the projects to study, right? So it's a good cycle to doing both, right?
Yeah.
Feedbacking each other.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And everyone else was kind of in a similar position.
Right. Everyone else actually business people. Right. So they do have their own experience in the actual business world. So that was quite rewarding.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And did anything surprise you about, I think sometimes you actually went to Chicago, right, for sort of weekends or like,
It's, yes.
Was it like a 1 week?
1 week in 6 weeks.
1 week, 6 weeks. Yes. Did anything surprise you about, working or, going to America, working with all these different nationalities and so on? Yeah.
So my classmates are from probably over 20 countries, so with different nationalities. And what surprised me the most is actually we had a team presentation in a strategy class, and we had to prepare the presentation after class, which was in the evening, and the presentation was in the next day. And I thought everyone will focus on developing the presentation materials, but actually it was not. And some went home actually to have dinner with his or her family, and they just went away. And some actually went drinking to get to know each other better, because it was in the early stage of the program. So it was a bit surprising to know that, because I thought they would focus on presentation because it's affect grading.
Yeah, you just assumed everyone would be thinking the same way you would think.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was shocking actually. In the beginning, but I had a lot of chance to do discussions with them, and then I got used to understand the true intentions of their comments, not only the superficial message, but also the true intention and background. Yeah.
Did you, often people say when you leave your country, you actually can understand yourself much better, right? So when you left, did you realize anything about, being Japanese, growing up in Japan, and Japan as a country?
Right. Yeah. Yes. I noticed that there's female students, right, and they were in director positions or executive positions, even they're in their early 30s or mid 30s. So it was quite different. As a female business person in Japan, it's quite difficult to be in a higher position in such an early stage, at early age. I mean, in a young.
Especially maybe a country like America, it's much easier.
Yes, and also even in Singapore, right?
Singapore, right. So in those countries, maybe is it more just about talent? Talent, if you're good, you can kind of move up.
Yes,
you think?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And they have their private life as well. So they're doing very good at work-life balance, right? Yeah. And I was not good at that actually. I focused too much on work, and after joining the business school, I focused both study and work, not private life at all. So
interesting.
yeah, it was a bit different from my female classmates.
So since the MBA, you've got more of a work-life balance, you think?
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Can I ask, Keiko, because I think you're a principal at the Global M&A Consulting Group, right, which is a very, very senior position, and so maybe you're an exception in Japan, still young, and you have a kind of very senior position. How did you do that? Or I don't know, what's different about you? Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Well, as I told you, actually, I spent 7 or 8 years focusing too much on work. Right. I worked till very late at night. I didn't have private life at all. So I think my example is not very good. But without that, probably it was a bit difficult for me to go up to the higher position. So I'm still struggling, but that's how I did.
What do you think? What would you like to see change in Japan to maybe to have more opportunity for women to kind of move up at a younger age as well? Right? Yeah. What do you think could change here?
Right. So I think there should be both approach from both sides, from the female employee and also the management side as well. So as a female employee, I read a Lean In, right? Written by Sandberg, CEO of Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
And her message is, for the female employees to lean in to the business more, right?
I see.
So I think that's a message for the female employees, and also for the management side.
Yeah.
They may want to provide more chance and opportunities to female employees, and also allow them to have more flexibility in work style, probably.
One of the things I've heard is, in Japan, people go drinking after work, right? And like office groups together. Right. And a lot of discussions and decisions are made informally, going to the izakaya to drink. And unless you get involved in that, you miss information, right? I don't know, is that, maybe that's kind of one of the barriers for women who may not want to be so interested in going out drinking all the time. I don't know if you found that in your experience or not.
Yeah, that might be one example, yes. Before Mercer, I worked in a Japanese manufacturer. Right. And I was in HR, but as you mentioned, many of the decision-making were done after 8 p.m., right? And I joined every single izakaya drinking, actually, to collect information. But probably some of the female employees didn't want that. So that's for traditional Japanese companies. Right. But I think at Mercer, that will not happen. So it depends on
the company,
industry and life cycle of the organization. Yes.
Keiko, if you were to take the kind of best from maybe the US, America, and the best from Japan, or any other country you like, to kind of mix together, what could you do?
Okay. I think the best thing in US is strong leadership, and also the top-down approach, and the decision-making is fast, right? And the strong thing in Japan, in general, is strong middle management, and also the bottom-up approach. Right. So if those two are combined, I think that would be very strong. So the middle management will prepare thoroughly the materials for judgment for the leadership, right? So they can make a good the perfect judgment.
Quickly,
right? Yeah, and middle management can digest and also the verify what leadership decided, and then roll out to the organization. That will make the rollout quickly, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, and that will avoid the wrong decision making, and also put brake on, the leadership to make, wrong decisions, right? Right.
Are you proud? What are you proud of being a kind of Japanese person? Like, what do you think you're proud of? Yeah.
What I'm proud of.
I know. I've just thrown this question at you. It just kind of came to me, so I don't know. Yeah. Proud to be a kind of Japanese person. I don't know.
Okay.
Country. Anything.
Anything. Yeah. What I like of Japan is high context culture.
You like that?
I like and not like, actually. But sometimes it's good, high context culture with indirect, way of saying expressions. That will, you can care about people, right? And you try not to hurt someone's feeling with direct expressions. That will work well in a closed society.
Right.
Yeah, with people who work closely or deal with closely.
Yeah.
That's the thing I like. But I don't like it as well, because if you work with someone you don't know in M&A situations, for example, you need direct expressions, right?
Right.
To really understand each other. So I think some Japanese are not good at dealing with new people.
So in an international context, it's actually maybe a weakness.
That's a weakness, yeah.
You said earlier that there's a kind of shortage of global leaders in Japan.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Probably one thing is about education, leadership education, like GLOBIS MBA, right? I think there's not much options in Japan to do the part-time MBAs or weekend MBAs, right? And they don't have time or money to go to MBA abroad, right?
Right.
To quit job for 2 years, that's too risky. So they don't have lots of opportunity to, guard themselves with leadership skills. That's one thing.
I see.
And the other thing is, I think, lack of experience. In Japan, you spend more time to become manager, right? At the age of 45 or over 45, you can be manager. But it's too late to have management experience abroad. It's a bit too late, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but in US or in other European companies, you can become a CEO of subsidiary at the age of 30 or 35. So you get used to managing people outside of their own country.
At a younger age.
At a younger age, yes.
So you're still flexible, you can learn and adapt.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
If you were to give some tips to Japanese people about how to get on better with non-Japanese outside, and the other way around, give tips to outsiders, how to get on well with the Japanese, what would you say?
Okay, right. So I think there should be commonalities and differences between you and those people outside of Japan, right? And there's no typical differences. I think there's some basic understanding of typical differences, like top-down or bottom-up, but it depends on industry or size of organizations or stage of organization. If you are in a startup company, Japanese company, decision making might be fast, right? It's more like a US style, right? So the important thing is to understand what's the commonalities and differences between you and the specific person you deal with.
So not to generalize.
Not generalize. Yeah, generalizing is too dangerous. although it will help you understand the basic differences.
Right.
Yeah, to start with.
Right.
That's one thing. And the other thing is actually to focus on common goals. And if you and the other will focus on the goal, the same goal, I think it's easier to discuss how to reach the goal together. How to reach the goal together with different approaches you take.
I see,
Right.
that's good.
And you can come up with different, probably innovative approach, which is not yours or the others.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of for both sides, I suppose, how to,
Yes.
non-Japanese and Japanese, how they
Exactly,
can work
exactly.
together. Yeah,
Right.
interesting. Have you seen, maybe you've seen some expats coming to Japan
Yes.
and in very senior positions and kind of making mistakes?
Yes.
You know, they bring the wrong type of leadership style. Can you share an example of that if you've seen it? And then maybe they go back a failure after a year or 2
Right,
years. Have you
right.
seen those types of?
Expats,
Yeah.
yeah. Right. So, first of all, one example is actually a CEO of Japanese subsidiary of US company, right? So they put expat from the headquarters,
Right.
And he come in and then bring in the US approach. But they don't. But in most cases, he or she do not understand the business culture in Japan. So how it works, right? So I think important thing is to first understand how the business is how the business actually take place.
I see.
Yes, in their own market.
So
Yes. And to customize the approach, right?
to spend more time understanding the context,
Right,
basically,
exactly.
before they start acting.
Right, right.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting. What else how about, one question I always ask is about, Japanese historical figures,
Yes.
celebrities, artists, someone you admire.
Yes.
Yeah.
I admire Akio Morita, who is a co-founder of Sony. What I admire of him is actually he went to US by himself with a product to understand the US market. And I think that's a basic of a business. If you do business outside of your own country,
Right.
yeah, to know the local market and feel and touch by yourself.
And any message you have for our viewers? Remember, there could be people sitting all around the world watching this. So any message you have for our viewers?
Right.
Anything?
Okay. I think my experience, MBA experience, was quite rewarding, and that helped me become more successful in business, I think. And because I'm dealing with M&A / HR,
Right.
but actually M&A involves a lot of broader management issues.
Right.
So learning the management issues, management as a whole was very, made me more confident in dealing with those management issues.
So you got a much broader view
Exactly,
of organization.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So, and also the part-time program helped me, as I mentioned, doing business and at the same time studying business worked well.
Right.
So if you have a chance to do that, I really recommend.
Thank you. That's a very
To
nice
do
thing
that.
to say. Very good thing to say.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Keiko.
Thank you.
It's really nice
Thank
talking
you.
to you. Thank you.
Thank you
And
very much.
it's very nice to meet a kind of very successful career person, career woman, Keiko, who's actually a principal at Mercer. And also really nice to hear you talking about how important the work-life balance is and that you can do both now, which is a great role model. So thank you very much, Keiko.
Thank you.
I'm Adam Kassab. You've been watching Inside Japan. Thank you very much and catch you next time.